Alrighty, how's it going everyone? I have a interesting camera here that is a friend of mine that I'm borrowing, and it is a Lomokino Super 35 movie maker. It is a analog, plastic, very simple, yet interesting design, and you use a standard 35mm film roll to create short animations. So I have here Aperture 160 color negative film, 35mm, that I'm gonna load up in here. So I'm just gonna go over kind of how it works, its features, what it's about a little bit right now, and then I'm gonna go shoot it at the park. So you have this little viewfinder that helps you frame your shot, or rangefinder I should say, helps you frame your shot right here. Just a little glass that you look through. You have your lens here, and you have 3 aperture settings. You have 5.6, 8, and 11. So if it's less light, you can put it on 5.6. If it's a lot of light outside, you can put it on 11. And I can see it move the aperture in the little lens here. It's just a little slit that opens and closes to let in light. It focuses at from 1 meter to infinity, so about 3 feet to infinity is in focus. And if you're closer to than 1 meter, then you push this little close up and it can go to 0.6 meters. So about 1.8 feet. I just did that calculation real quick. So you push this and it pushes out the lens slightly. It's kind of funny. So how it works, I'm also gonna load it up here. You can see, if you can see, I'll hold this up, hopefully it's in focus. If you can't see it, this is the little slit where the size of the frame. So it's less than half of a normal 35mm. It's the same width, but a lot shorter. I'm gonna bring this up, this example, so you can see the color negatives here. So you can kind of, hopefully, let me try and focus it. You can see all these little frames, and that's how it will go. You load your film roll in here, connect it to here. Then you wind this forward, and you just start shooting. That's pretty much it. Set your aperture. There's like no other settings. You have your 3 apertures, a close-up button, and that is it. So as you wind it, you should, once the film's loaded, this should turn as well. So this winds the bottom where the film goes onto, and this progresses the film forward. Oh, the angle of view is 54 degrees at 25mm, so it's pretty wide, which is good. Oh, and the frame rate is 3 to 5 frames per second. So the frame rate is super choppy, and when you see the animated example at the end, you'll see that. So basically, you just turn this like this, and it kind of make sure your fingers are out of the way of the lens. I would hold it like this, and you just wind it, and it pulls the film down, uses the shutter, and makes these little frames. And then when you're done with the roll, it will stop because the roll's out. It should tell you here as well. And then you wind it back up, and once it's all the way wound up, you get it developed, and then you can scan it and animate it. Or they also, if you get this, it comes with a Lomokino viewer, so you can buy that, and then you put your film in it. If it's color negative, it'll be color negative. If you use color positive film, you can put it in that, and it's basically the same thing as this, but a little window, you look at it, and you just wind it, and you can see your animation. So it's kind of interesting. These are like 50 bucks, I think. Frames per roll. Oh, here we go. 144. So I was trying to guess. I was off. So you get 144 images per 35 millimeter roll. So if you calculate 144 frames at 5 frames per second, how long is your, let me calculate that real quick and see how long an animation would be. I think that's like 30 seconds. So we got 144 frames. If you get that divided by 5 frames per second, 28.8. So you get about 29 seconds once you animate it, if you animate it right. So not bad, pretty standard like any 35 millimeter does. It's just a little different. So I'm gonna go ahead and load it. It does load actually backwards from what you're used to. So your film is facing out rather than the back side of your film facing out on a normal film that you load. Should be good to roll. I'm just going to wind it a little bit and make sure this other side is turning. All right, we should be good then. It is turning. So it's good to go. So Lomokino Super 35 Movie Maker, gloriously analog is what it says here. I'm going to be outside, so I'll leave it at f11. I'm going to be shooting at infinity, so I'm just going to go to the park and go make a short film with this 35 millimeter filmmaker. Then I'll scan it and make a little animation that I'll play at the end. So I haven't been counting. I kind of wish I was, just so I can keep track a little bit of when the film roll will run out. Because the first roll I tested, I had a bunch of film that I didn't use up because I thought I was done. I couldn't really tell because this isn't accurate. So it's just, if you count, at least I have an idea. I should get at least 28 seconds of film. So if I just roll it and then when I stop, just remember what number I'm at. I haven't been doing that. I wish I was. Next time I will. Make sure I get it right. Because while I'm cranking this, is that my hand end moving, like it's so shaky, even though the images will just be more jittery than I'd like it to be. But it does have a tripod, so I guess you can put on a tripod nice and solid and move it. Oh, there we go. I think okay, it's loose now. It might have just been stuck for a little bit trying to get out. Just look. Yeah, all rolled out. So hopefully it worked. It should have. I did everything you should to operate the camera. So now I'm going to get developed and I'll play an animation. Go ahead and scan the frames. Now the problem I'll have with this is each frame is so small and anyway, yeah, they're so small. So one thing I have to make sure to do is that I scan them in order, because if they go out of order in any way, then the animation. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all of these individually and scan them, and then I'll show you how I put them into Premiere and make an animation with all of them, a digital animation. So I'm going to import all my images, and I imported more than just my one roll. I had a practice roll, so I have a few frames from the practice roll in here too, so I'll be a bit longer than, make sure it's sorted by list view. And also I scanned a little bit out of order, so they are going to be little cuts back and forth. So make sure our first frame is actually our first frame. And then I'm going to select them all, nest into a subsequence. Then I'm going to change the speed to 15. Alright, now let's see how long it is. 47 seconds. It should be even faster. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, it's a little slow, so I'm going to increase the speed still. Let's do 2500. And how fast is that? I think that's a good speed. Now, the question is, do I add a color grade on top of it? I'm going to try it, an adjustment layer here, just to see what that. Add a S curve, make the darks a little darker and the brights a little brighter. I'm also gonna, I know this counterintuitive makes it opposite a little bit, but I'm gonna increase the shadows just a bit. Then I'm going to make the shadows a little blue. I want it to be warm, so I'm gonna make the highlights and the midtones up here this warm color. Make this a little bit more blue. And then creative, I'm gonna faded film. It is film, so we don't need to make it more faded. Definitely wanna, and if we sharpen it, it doesn't have enough bit depth to be sharpened, but we can sharpen it a little bit. And then increase the vibrance, and that's good. Let's try that out. So this is what it looks like with my color, or my color changes.